Hello, hello, hello. Yes, you get a 2-for-1 deal today. This is the second time I'm on this day. Happy Thursday. This is the voice and the face of Dr. Tolo Labinton. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Living Spring Family Medical Center here in the awesome city of Texas, Mansfield, Texas, not too far from Dallas, just to give you perspective. And here we help our patients live long and well because we believe the quality of life is just as important as the quantity of life. I'm really excited about this topic. I'll be honest with you, but I'm excited about a lot of topics I know. And I'm going to bring on our guest. Our topic today is Doc, I love art. How can I use it to thrive? I'm going to add her on. Yay! How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Fine. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. It's really nice to meet you.
I know, right? Like, I know. We have a lot of unofficial, so this is nice. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I'm a big fan of yours. So I just want to say that real quick. I'm a big fan of yours. Love what you do. And that being said, if you don't mind, could you introduce yourself? Who are you, Doc, and what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Lucie Mitchell. I am a physical medicine and rehabilitation physician, but also do interventional spine and pain, and I'm also an abstract artist.
Okay, so I know I love what you do. You're a PMR. You help people feel better. You do pain medicine. Yeah, that's great. But that's not why. That's not why I got you right here. You're an artist and you're an educator and you're the founder of Phoenix Noir Designs of Photography, where you
Yeah.
turn images of human spines into beautiful abstract artwork in addition to creating original abstract. How did you get into all of this? Like, can you tell us the story behind that?
And so, I started doing art since middle school, but never like, took it as serious. And it wasn't until when I got into medicine that I started seeing, like the lumbar spine, the cervical spine as it's a piece of art, right? I love the spine. And my thing was, people come in for back pain, neck pain, and it's always something like, that's painful, hurtful, nasty. But within all of that, nastiness is a beauty, right? And I wanted to take, a piece of that and be able to reflect that beauty from the spine. And that's how that part started. But I always loved photography. I remember in residency, we had, when you're in residency, you can go online, look at the pictures of the new residents, the old one, the chief resident. And I
Right.
remember looking at the ones from our program, and they weren't it was cloudy outside. It wasn't that cute. And I was like, I need to look good in my picture. Okay. And so, and so I remember taking on that task and doing the photos for my class and then the classes after. And it started to become, a thing. And so I'd have all the programs saying, hey, can you take our photos too? And so then that continued to grow and grow my love for photography and the art, and just being in spine and pain, especially during fellowship and during COVID, made it a way for me to bring all those things together and then turn it into a business.
Wow, wow. It takes an artist to say, spine is art.
It is.
Yeah, it takes because I see the spine. Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you have that eye, and I'm glad that we're going to talk about this from a perspective of a way to thrive. And I know now you're turning to a business, so that has an added level of stress. But could we talk a little bit about, you know, how you started with this? Like, when did you start this? And how did you start? And what was it? Was it immediately a business as far as um, the spine art? Was it merely business, or what? Like, tell us a little bit more, Doc.
Yeah. So at first I did it just for fun, because I had images of my own spine. So I had x-rays and MRIs on my spine. And I used to say, oh, okay, it's plain, it's cute, but I used to just play with it and see if I can spice it up at first digitally, but then I would just, sketch the spine. When you're teaching residents or other students, you sketch things out. And I would do say, oh, this is really good. So I would give them the drawing and say, hey, well, keep it so a reference. And
Hmm.
then, it wasn't until I was during my chief year and I was doing a rotation where it would be my soon to be fellowship. And one of the directors said, hey, he's like, remember that when you're in medicine, that is not going to be your life. You want to make sure that you
Hmm.
do something more than medicine, because you always want something to fall back on, but also to, decrease the burden of medicine, to also decrease burnout. you want a stress reliever and make sure that it's outside of medicine. All right. And so, and he knew that I loved to paint, love to draw. So he said, why don't you do more of that, as a stress reliever, which I used to do that anyway. But it wasn't until like hard during my fellowship year, and which was ended up being also went over into COVID, where I brought all of it out because one, it was a stressful time for everybody, especially healthcare. And with COVID, I mean, burnt out from top down to all the way down to the bottom, And with that, I became more engulfed in my art, and I would start to get more requests for pieces for the hospital, for clinics, for personal reasons. And people always say, well, how much is this? And I would just put a random price on it at first, until it became like more a consistent thing where I said, you know what, let me take a step back and actually do the whole business aspect of this of this, as far as my artwork, the photography. And then once I had that in place, when somebody would say, oh, hey, how much is this? I'd have like an actual thing to go on versus just a random number in my
right.
So the thing that I didn't want to do is undervalue my art, and the time it took me to do something because nobody else was doing what I was doing.
Right.
And so with that, I was able to, make it profitable, but two, expand my network. So that way it could be seen on different platforms, different places, because again, COVID, hard times, sad times. Fucking hospital, you see the walls, it's very gloomy, or you have like sad portraits, or you have like these like dull pictures. And I'm like, this needs to be more uplifting, more upbeat, because it's already a sad place to be, number one. And so why make it sadder with sad artwork?
Yeah, I agree. That's why one of the walls in my clinic is orange. The bright, like
it's bright, exactly.
It's just perks. And just real quick, my daughter did say to tell you that she's an artist too, and she's a big fan of yours. So I said I'll give her a shout out. But my next question is this: one of the things in conversation that comes up with patients is self-care. Like, what do you do for self-care? And I typically like to talk about things that they can do that's low budget, that they actually enjoy, not someone suggests to them as something to do for self-care. And art has come in, as either, painting. I didn't know they had adult coloring books till COVID, actually. And you can actually do that. And there's some people who actually want to stretch their artistic muscle. So can you talk about how this has been a way to de-stress, as a way to thrive for you, and give tangible examples, if you don't mind?
Yeah, because let's say if, for example, about 2 weeks ago was rough at work, rough week. I mean, rough. Okay. And I didn't paint at all that week either. Right. And the thing is that I didn't know that other people, even my patients included, that they would even know like if I'm not painting. Right.
Wow.
I remember like towards like that Friday, I'm seeing patients, the usual stuff. And a patient said, just like, you seem more tense. Have you painted this week? And I was like, I have not painted this week. Just like, well, we can kind of tell because, usually you're very like, you're smiling, you're so happy, you saw us the new paintings. But they was like, but it was just like, straight business with you today, My staff said the same thing, My kids would know if I don't paint, they're like, mommy has to paint it this week, like they know. Because, and for me, I didn't know that it was projecting, to everybody else. Because when I am painting and I, do come home and I'm able to, I don't have a plan. I just paint, right? Or even if I'm not painting, I'm just mixing colors. But that brings me so much joy that it projects out into the world, which I didn't know that it did not when I was not painting. And then so when I see patients and, now that I'm more aware of it, and I see patients, and let's say if I haven't painted for a whole week or so, I make sure that I still bring my best, even though in the back of my mind, I have to get to a paintbrush. I have to put my hands in paint because it will show. And I didn't know that until they started to mention it. And so it definitely, projects even when we don't think it does. When we are stressed, but we thinking, oh no, I got it. I can handle it. It is what it is. But the world sees it, even though we don't think they do, but people notice. When people know what brings you joy and they see that, hey, you're not as happy, that means that whatever it is that you love to do has been a part of your life, it shows.
So for someone who's watching, I have a little curve to this question. Who's like, well, good for you. Your art is sellable. And It's beautiful. I mean, I've seen your work. I purchased your work, and they're like, well, I don't know how to really paint, but the idea of it is exciting to me because there's no pressure. It's just me and the brush, or me and the coloring pencil, or whatever. What would you say to that person who's like, well, I'm not quite as gifted as you, but I like it seems like a low budget, easy ways for me to kind of de-stress and just express myself creatively. What would you say to that person to encourage them?
Yeah. One, and that's to my patients also, because I get the same question too. And I tell them, I'm like, are you trying to do it for a business, or you want to just do it for pleasure and relieve stress, right? Because if it's for, relieve the stress and the pressure, there's no pressure. You literally, if you seen Picasso's work, you're like, my 5-year-old could do that, right?
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I went to a museum. I'm not even kidding. I went to a museum, and it was a painting. It was yellow. It was a yellow canvas. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And it was like, $50,000. I was like, oh, for yellow. I'm like, let me go home and do the same thing. Right. And so you don't have to be, paint the most beautiful landscapes and the Eiffel Tower. I mean, it doesn't have to be that. You can splash paint on a canvas and here it is. Right. But the question you have to ask yourself is, are you doing it just for you, to relieve stress, or for a business? That's when you have to separate the two things. Right? Because you might not think your art is sellable, but I can guarantee somebody somewhere is like, wow, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. Right? Like I see art that will sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I'm like, I would not buy this for $2. And I see pieces that I'm like, whoa, I would spend money on this, and it's like, oh well, it's $2. Really? So there's no rhyme or reason, because when it comes to art, it's in the eye of the beholder, right? I don't think it's art could be art. I could take, napkins and a trash bag and stick it on a piece of paper and call that art. You look at the runways, people are wearing trash bags down the runway, and that's selling for how many $100,000? I'm like, I could have a trash bag right here. I could just take that, just put it on, walk on the runway.
You have me laughing so hard because somebody, I'm like, is it just me? But no, I didn't see it. But yes, it is in the eye of the beholder, and so if it's a form of expression or a form of distressing, then there's no pressure. So I love that.
Like I just a Lego exhibit. It's the Lego exhibit that's in Atlanta, right? And they use the Legos to make all kinds of things. So now Lego is a medium of art, and so it doesn't have to be sellable. It just has to be whatever brings you relief. Whatever makes you just say, wow, I feel so much better now. You don't have to like it. You know how many pieces that I create that I do not like, but they will sell, but I don't like them. Because I'm just doing it just to do, because there's no pressure.
Let me write that down. You don't have to like your art. It is, oh man, it's for it to be a stress relief.
That's all it is. Like you can go now. There's like these paint places that you can go. They give you a little like a suit, like a white suit. You suit up, and you have your hair in it, whatever. And they put like a little hood on and a goggles, and they give you buckets of paint, and you just throw the buckets of paint all over the place. It's really stress. It's like paintball, but just for just paint and humans and just free flowing. The same way you can go to these places and suit up, get a bat, glassware, and just smash things up. They got the same thing for paint, axe throwing. All those things are stress relievers for people, right? The same thing for art. And art, medicine is an art. So technically you're an artist too, right? Because it's an art. Anything that you can do is an art. I can, I have my son's penny right here, right? I can stack some pennies, glue them together, and then form like a penny tower. That's a piece of art. And so it's all around us, right? It's everywhere. But it doesn't have to be something that you have to put a number on, because it comes to your self-care, your self-worth, your, mental health. There is no number when it comes to that. It's priceless.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
I was like, art is wow. This is very good. Now I have someone who's watching who's like, well, how do you have the time to do that? Like, how do you like? What would you say someone who's like, I don't know where I'll find the time to do that? How do you find time to do this and make this a regular part of your routine? What would you say to that?
And so the funny thing about that question is just this morning, I was listening to Dr. Una's podcast, right? And it was about time, not having enough time. We all have 24 hours, right? And I'm the one who always say, oh, I don't have enough time for this. Because like if you see my to-do list, it's like a book long. It's a book long, right? But then prioritizing, what's important for you. For example, if you're working from 9 to 5, whatever the case is, right? You don't need 10 hours to create art. You don't need it. Because art could be in a form of poetry. You could write stuff down. It could be journaling. It could be doodling, right? You could be in a bathroom, doing a number 2 and a little sketch pad, all these different things that you can do when it comes to art. It doesn't have to be a set time unless if you want to. But I have kids, they have after school stuff, they have summer camp, at work, I do this, I do a lot of commission pieces also. And so even with a busy schedule, you can still find time for you, right? Because you're doing it for you. And if you don't take care of you, you can't take care of others effectively, right? And so even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever the case is, right? Because we're always on the go, 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 go. You have to take a step back. You have to, because otherwise you're going to crash. And when you crash, then what happens, right? And so I come home from work, my kids know, leave me alone for a little bit. I need to just leave me alone. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll come home, they get settled. And while they're upstairs getting settled, I start mixing paint. What am I mixing for? Nothing, just to mix. Because just the motion of me mixing and just seeing that makes me happy. Just seeing how the paint moves. I don't even have to paint anything. Just mixing paint. Like I have tons of paints mixed up here just because.
Wow. I like that. And I have to share this. One of the things that has been very liberating, and I share this a lot with my clients too, is the fact that you will never have time for everything.
Exactly.
So even it's like pressure relief.
Want to do like I tell you, my to-do list is literally like a spiral notebook long of things to do. But what I started doing, actually I started doing this on Monday. So this is brand new. So we're trying to form some habits now, right? But I have my to-do list, and I have what I want to do on Monday, Tuesday, whatever. But then I will put like a little mark next to what is actually a priority. And I'll just pick 3 priorities because I have 3 categories in my to-do list. And so from each category, I'll pick the number 1, for that day and make sure at least those get done. Whatever I do extra, bonus for me. But at least out of my whole list and my 3 categories, whatever I pick from each one has to get done that day. So that way, even though it looks like it is big, but it limits my actual real to do to just 3 items. And what else I accomplish, boom, bonus.
Awesome. So you're majoring on the major. There will always be something to do. You cannot have time for everything. The key to success is making sure you are doing the things that make the most impact first. So be encouraged. Awesome. So Doc, this is good. This has been very, very encouraging. And I'm sure I have people who are like, man, how do I get in touch with her? I would like to see her work. Doc, where can people find you?
All right. So I am on Facebook. So on Facebook, I have my Phoenix Noir Designs page on Facebook. And I also have like Lucie Mitchell. So there's a lot of us apparently on Facebook, though, Lucie Mitchell. How I say my name, but it's Lucie Mitchell. And it's a picture of me on there, and also Phoenix Noir Designs on Facebook. Instagram is at Phoenix Noir Designs. Also, my website is phoenixnoirdesigns.com. And so everything under that same tag. TikTok, same thing. And so now I am on YouTube, but on YouTube I do a lot of art on YouTube. And so it's under scrubs and arts because I wear scrubs every day and I'm doing art. And so it's scrubs and art on YouTube.
Okay, let me put that down. YouTube, scrubs and art.
Yep.
Scrubs and art. I love it. I love what you do, Doc. Thank you so much for taking the time to come here and share your passion, your obvious passion for for art with our viewers. I'm sure that a lot of people are going to find this very useful. I'm very motivated now. No pressure, just to do something. I do like color, so I will venture and I'll let you know how that goes. But thank you so much for taking time to come.
And thank you for having me. This was amazing. So it's always a pleasure.
All right, awesome, awesome. And thank you all for watching live or in replay. As always, sharing is caring. So simply comment, tag people, forward this link to them, and share the joy of potentially using art as a way to thrive and to de-stress. Once
Yes.
again, if you or anyone you know is looking for an awesome, a thorough, and a passionate family physician who will help you live long and well, I am she. Have a good one. Thanks again, Doc.